Hi everybody, hope everybody's safe and well. We are all trying to stay healthy in these times, and this is video number 2 for class period number 1. I will try to keep these videos a little bit shorter for ease at home, about 15 minutes, but I can't promise that some might be shorter and some might be longer depending on what we need to get done. But I will label them, again, this is video 2 from class 1. So the introduction was video 1. And so we're going to start talking about the parts of the guitar first and then compare the guitars a little bit. So you're going to find this on page 7 in the Dissler book. And there's some resemblance to a person when we start to talk about the guitar. So this is called the head or machine head of the guitar, and these are tuning pegs or tuners that tune the strings. Obviously they tighten and loosen them. This is the nut, N-U-T, and it holds the strings, usually made of plastic or bone, some kind of synthetic material that's very hard, and it holds the strings in place. Very important for adjusting your guitar, and the strings slide through there. So if you hear some creaking, the strings are usually getting caught in the nut. You can put a little pencil lead in there to lubricate the strings. The metal cross pieces, and when I say in there, I mean under the string. You'll have to loosen the string and put some lead under there. Just a little bit will go a long way. The frets are the metal cross pieces that the string actually make contact with to change the pitch. Then the dark wood on the fret board is called the fretboard, and that's glued to the top of the neck. So we have machine head, tuners, nut, fretboard, neck, the frets themselves, and then on the body of the guitar we have upper bout, B-O-U-T, lower bout. The bridge is the dark piece of wood glued to the guitar. So this is very important structurally. It's glued down. And the saddle is the little white piece that the strings sit on. So the strings sit on the saddle. That might help you remember that. Strings sit on the saddle and the saddle sits on the bridge. Then there's a sound hole, and the decorative element around the sound hole is the rosette. And a lot of times guitar manufacturers will use the shape of the machine head and the rosette inlay or decal to show off their brand. The top or face of the guitar is very important. When it is solid, that's really the first step up from a student guitar, a solid top guitar, because this is the tone producer here. And then when you move up the price point, the back and sides become solid as well. This is a cedar top guitar, and it has an orangish kind of brown wood, which is very much more dark in sound than a spruce top guitar, which is usually a yellow or a little more lighter colored. So this is a nylon string guitar. Right here it has plastic strings on it, and it has a tie block bridge and slotted tuners. So the tuning peg is cut, pegs are in a cutout, which we call slots, in order to create a harder angle against the nut. This is a very low tension guitar, and we need to have the strings pulled down over the nut, and so they don't vibrate. So this guitar is made of a much lighter construction than a steel string guitar. It has wooden braces on the bottom that are sort of glued underneath the bridge, and it allows the top to vibrate very well. Much easier on your fingers too. Whereas a steel string guitar still has a machine head, but the tuning pegs are different. You can see they are little posts that stick up, and the angle is still there, but it doesn't have to be as drastic because these strings are much tighter in their tension. And this guitar was made to be more of an accompaniment instrument rather than a solo instrument. And there's a big X piece of wood underneath this bridge, which makes this guitar very stiff. It has a pin bridge with little pins that go in by friction. Sometimes it's called a friction bridge. A pin bridge or friction bridge, and you can see it has a pick guard around the sound hole too, but all the parts are still the same. Tuners, machine head, nut frets. It has a bound fretboard. That's what the little white is around the fretboard. It has a sound hole with a rosette, a bridge, and a saddle, upper bout, lower bout, and the full body. And this is a solid top on it too. This is also cedar, and it's a little more orange in color and dark in sound. So if I strum this guitar, it is made to be played generally with chords. Now, if I do that same thing with the classical guitar, I need to get it in tune. Let me do that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on this video. So the nut is wider here. So I don't know how well that's coming across on the video, but the steel string's much brighter and louder, and this is definitely more mellow, and I played that with a pick as well. So this guitar is made to be played with a more finger-picked approach, so that my fingers are actually playing little picks are what I'm doing with the nail of my finger. I'm using them as little picks against the string. This guitar is much lighter construction. It reacts much more to what I'm doing and the nuances of what I'm doing, including vibrato, where I shake a note like that. And the steel string guitar is not quite as reactive as that. You do not want to put steel strings on a nylon string guitar. It's not made for that type of tension, and you will break the guitar. The bridge will possibly pop off. The headstock will possibly break off. And as I experienced with one of the students in your class, Brooke, today, she had bought a nylon string and tried to put it on her steel string guitar, and we couldn't even get it to stay in the pin bridge or get in tune at all without popping off the guitar. So it's not that you would damage the guitar if you tried to put nylon strings on this guitar, it's just that the way it's made is for strings that have a ball end or a washer or brass ending that fits in and will be stopped by the pin bridge. And it has very different kind of tuners where you don't necessarily tie the string on like the tuners from the classical guitar. One important thing to note here too is that, I'm going to try and back up a little bit here, is that when I play the steel string guitar, I want you to know that the right leg is lifted up. I have the footstool under my right leg right now, and I have the elbow joint holding the guitar. So again, with the footstool pushing the guitar against my body and my right arm, I don't have to hold on to the guitar or chase the guitar or hold it against my body. I can now use my hands freely on the guitar and doesn't feel like it's going to fall away. If I take my foot off the footstool, the guitar just wants to kind of fall forward. So right leg for the steel string guitar, that helps with the strumming. We usually don't play high up on the fretboard, whereas on the classical guitar, we want the left leg lifted up. So I know you can't see my feet, but I'm now resting the guitar on my left side. I have the footstool on my left side, and I'm resting the guitar against my body and my two thighs. And this is the way that classical guitar players generally play. Sometimes they have little cushions or props that hold the guitar up even, but I'm using the footstool, and that allows me to move my hands across the guitar. On all guitars, you get more treble back here and more bass here, and the neutral spot is basically at the back of the sound hole for picking and finger picking. And this allows me to play higher up on the fretboard. You see the way the guitar is curved up now. It allows me to play higher on the fretboard, which you often do on a classical guitar. Not necessarily on a steel string guitar do you play that high. People do, but it's not as common and the sound is not as sweet up there. So the next thing I want to mention between the two guitars, not only is it a wider nut, but you'll notice that on the classical guitar, but you'll notice that the bridges are in different places. The body's much bigger on this guitar and the bridge is more forward. That means that the frets line up to the body differently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The 12th fret meets the body on the classical guitar. This is all in Chapter 1 in the Distler book. I do want you to know that, Chapter 1 and 2, actually, some of this information. This is a very important spot because it's the 1 octave spot on your guitar. So finding the letter name that matches the open string sound is very easy by knowing that the 12th fret produces the same letters as the open strings. On a steel string guitar, you'll generally see a double dot, and this is true of electric guitars as well. So mine just so happens not to have a double dot at the 12th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, odd numbers, 8, 9, 10, 11, there's the 12th fret. So 13, 14, I want you to know that the 14th fret meets the body on the guitar. So if I'm looking for that octave spot, I'm going 2 frets below that. This allows me to pick up any guitar that belongs to a friend or another musician or at a store and know once again where that octave spot is. It's imperative that I'm able to find letter names on the fretboard for more than one reason. Even if I'm not reading notes, I need to know where to find chords and scales. And unlike the piano, it is not real clear where the notes are. It just looks like a bunch of wire across the frets, and it's going to take time to memorize where the letters are at, and we'll talk about that too. So what we need to do now, after talking about the parts of the guitar and the posture, is to name the strings. So the lowest sound is closest to my face, fattest string is closest to my face, and the highest sound is closest to the floor. So I'm going to get a higher sound, and they're going to get lower as I go across the strings, and they are numbered 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when we look at the tuners, 6th is the lowest, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In other words, the lowest sounding tuner and highest sounding tuner are closest to my face. And we need to know those numbers, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1 across the guitar, 3, 2, 1, 1 being the closest towards the floor. And we need to know their letter names. E, A, D, G, B, and E. One saying that a lot of players use to memorize that is Eddie ate dynamite, Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. There's a little sentence that might help you memorize that. The truth is the guitar is tuned in fourths starting on E, and when we say intervals or numbers in music, we are measuring letter distances from one letter to the next. So if this is E, E, F, E is being number 1, E, F, G, A. That means that is a 4th higher, that's A. A, B, C, D, that's a 4th higher, that's D. D, E, F, G, that's the G, 4 letter names higher than D. And between these two strings, it's a third. B is a third higher than G. So this is G, G, A, B. And then we're back to a 4th. B, C, D, E is the high E string. Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when I'm tuning this guitar, the bass strings closest to my face go counterclockwise to tighten. And only do them a little bit at a time. If you start cranking on the string, it's gonna break. So a little bit at a time, and use the tuner, again, to help you find the correct letter name, E, A, D. If I'm tuning my E string and it says F or G, I need to come down the alphabet, go backwards slowly to the right. If I'm tuning my E string and it says, let's say D, then I need to tighten it and go up. okay, to tighten it D up to E. So it's linear based on the alphabet. And for the other guitar, all of these tuners tune the same direction. It's still 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, E, A, D, G, B, and E, but they all go counterclockwise. I'll move that tuner out of the way. They all go counterclockwise to tighten and clockwise to loosen. Okay, so that is the end of video 2, and we're going to get into some naming notes in video 3 and how to name the notes and play physically on your guitar. See you next time. Bye-bye.